if companies that are going to emerge with AI at its core want to ensure that they're driven to provide the best quality experience, then the best way to drive that behavior is by only rewarding them when they drive sales.
Awin, for anyone who doesn't know, is affiliate marketing network that houses and powers the influencer and affiliate publisher activity for brands like Nike, Etsy, Samsung, AliExpress, Currys, Vodafone, BT. I mean, 30,000 advertisers, but those are some of the big names.
It takes time to grow organically. If there is the right interesting target or partner on the market, then sometimes it can make that much faster.
How do you know when someone's ready for way more responsibility?
Sometimes you don't, and sometimes you don't have the luxury, right? You're going to have to take a chance on people. And someone took a chance on me.
But from 15 employees to 1,400 is wild.
We're the perfect monetization solution for this new wave of AI shopping. There's definitely a lot of hype. And, I think if you stick the word AI on an investor presentation at the moment, you're just more likely to get listened to. So people are doing that. But clearly this is not just hype. There's real substance to it.
Yeah, so 5 and 3.
5, yes, going on 15. Roblox is like this multi-generational thing at the moment.
Well, my 5-year-old watches people playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
And there's this one video where he's called Milo.
Okay.
And he's found one where the main character is called Milo. And he just watches this. Is that what it's called? I don't know. It could be it. And they make this horrible squeaky sound, and it's so. And he's like, he literally stares. He doesn't actually play Minecraft, but then he knows so much about Minecraft because of this. Yeah, yeah.
How old are yours? So this is the streamer generation, native to streaming and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've dipped into it because there was a time when I was really into gaming. So like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Not at all now, obviously, no time for it and lost interest. But at one point I found myself like, okay, it's quite mindless watching someone who's really good at the game playing it. But there's your son watches a lot.
It develops so quickly as well because this Italian brain rot thing has come along. And now it's been integrated with Roblox. Yeah. And so they're seeing all the characters they watch from YouTube onto Roblox. Now they're playing the game. They're doing the grower garden Skibbity toilets coming into.
Do you know about Skibbity toilet?
I need to sort of put some limits on.
It sounds like your son is actually like doing pretty well on the content he's watching. There's so many levels to this.
This is the YouTube. Yeah, it's like fucking hell.
But as an adult, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, I'm not ashamed to admit this. I think it's probably quite normal, but I can lose hours and hours in bed.
Yeah.
Just suddenly it's been 2 hours and I've been watching just like reels and things.
Oh yeah.
And you think, well, that's me, and I know
terrible.
About all this, and I work in media, and I'm 36, and it's like, what about the kids? Of course, they're going to lose themselves in it. Like it's.
Yeah, I had to stop using TikTok, but then I kept Instagram, and basically Reels is the same thing. So
same thing.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So we're here to talk marketing and milkshakes. So should we kick off with the milkshakes that we're drinking? So
I'm Oreo.
You're Oreo, yeah. So I've gone, and Adam, you're an Oreo as well.
Oreo, yeah.
Is that your?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. And you don't know what yours is.
And I don't know what I've got. So mine's
Mystery
called a cloudy special, and maybe it's going to become.
You don't know any of the. He picked this today. He doesn't know any of the ingredients.
Did you watch them make it?
Good question.
What is in it? Can you give it?
Okay, I'll give it a little. It's very thick. What is that? Behave. It's there's some like apple in there. Maybe mango as well.
And milk.
Interesting combo.
Yeah, no. Very fruity.
Is it good?
Sure. Amazing.
Sounds like
really good.
Sounds like a stitch.
I think we'll make it a recurring theme. I just don't know what I'm going to get.
No, we asked the guests, and I thought this was quite funny when we asked you, what's your favorite? We'll ask all the important stuff, and then it's like, and just for the show, so we know what's your favorite milkshake, so we can get it in. And you said, I don't have a favorite milkshake, and it made me. I was like, I'm Oreo. I'm a hardcore Oreo guy.
Yeah. When pushed though. If I was looking at a milkshake menu, I would choose that, which is how we reached this conclusion.
Yes. Oreos over here and mystery shake.
Yes,
so you are CEO of Awin, and I've got some facts here which I'm going to reel off because it's very interesting. Awin, for anyone who doesn't know, is an affiliate marketing network that houses and powers the influencer and affiliate publisher activity for brands like Nike, Etsy, Samsung, AliExpress, Currys, Vodafone, BT. I mean, 30,000 advertisers, but those are some of the big names. Driving billions in revenue for those brands every year, e-commerce revenue. You know, there's loads of stats on here, but there's 1,400 employees across 17 offices, billions of data points, big tech team, just like a huge operation and hugely important in the e-commerce space globally. And you're the CEO.
Yeah, but you joined when there was like 15.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I joined in 2004, so a long time ago. Yeah, about 15 to 20 employees at the time, based in Southeast London. Recruited directly by the founder, and people thought I was nuts, right? You know, because no one had heard of affiliate marketing at the time, or very few, and this was a very small company that, you know, again, no one had heard of in a kind of in miles away from where I lived in Southeast London. And this is you're gonna commute there every day to do this job, which no one's ever heard of.
Where was it based
in Deptford,
right?
And I was like, yeah, because it's just sounds really interesting. It's like this great mix of tech and business and online, and that was like a passion of mine for years. Loved it from the first moment.
What did you do before that?
I actually studied dentistry at university, believe it or not.
What a pivot!
Yeah. So I was sort of come from a family that did a lot of vocational degrees. My brother's a doctor, the brother's a pharmacist. It was like, you must do something vocational. And so that's what I thought I should do. And it's not easy to do. It's not easy to get into. It's not easy to actually study. So I did that for quite a while before I kind of came to the conclusion that this wasn't really for me, or maybe more they came to the conclusion that I wasn't for them, or a combination of the two. And then I didn't know what to do. I mean, my passion was always the internet and online. I was building websites from a young age, and that's what I really should have pursued as a career. But anyway, life is a funny way of working things out, and that didn't work out. I moved to London, and just purely by luck, and an amazing recruitment agent at the time that was helping me out said, I've got the place for you. I'm going to introduce you to this company and this founder, and I think it's going to be perfect. And she really tried, and the founder of Affiliate, it was called Affiliate Window back then, didn't want to meet me because I had no relevant experience. So she persuaded him after a week or so to see me, and I went to see him, and then we hit it off very early on. And like when I got back from the interview, when I sort of got out of the underground, they called to offer me the job.
Amazing.
So
they were like, you got to take him. He knows a lot about teeth.
Exactly. It'll be very useful.
And look where the world goes now. You surround yourself with sweets, things that could kill your teeth. Milkshakes and
exactly.
But from 15 employees to 1,400, is wild. To be there for all of that. And now obviously the CEO. What was that like? How did that get built?
It's been amazing, and there's been different, really exciting parts of the journey that have all been very different. So, that startup part, when I first joined, super exciting, extremely intense. Everybody knows what everyone else is doing, great sense of common purpose, and really hard work, right? You'll
suppose real innovation at that size as well, because you can move fast, right?
Yeah. And I think that comes from that sense that everybody knows what's going on in the business. And you still have that up until about, I would say, 50 employees. Everybody knows everybody really well, and everybody knows what's going on. So when you're doing something new, you're building a new piece of tech, you're pitching for a new customer, or whatever it happens to be, the whole company knows it's going on, and everybody's contributing. And that sense of shared purpose, and that period of hyper growth, we were growing triple digit at that point in time. That is, some of the most exciting memories. Great fun, and it's hard, as the company grows, to maintain that same sense of camaraderie.
Yeah, well, 50, you've actually struck a nerve with me, because I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because we are around 50 in our business, and I can relate to that massively. Up until now, you can keep everyone connected, up to date, and then you start to have more departments, more layers, and you have to, right? What's the next step after that, and how did you guys go from 50 to say 500.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's specific moments, or I can't remember the exact stats, and there's lots of books written on this, where you get over a certain number of employees, it might be 100 or 150, where we as humans, we can't, we survive on gossip and knowing each other's business, and the brain can't actually cope with more than, I think it's 150 people.
Right.
So once you kind of break over through that threshold, then it becomes much more challenging to keep everybody together and aligned and engaged. And so I think, understanding exactly when those moments are, and putting in place the right structures. So you start thinking about, well, we need departments now. We need managers of those departments. We need to bring in people that have experience in leading. We need to be much clearer around what the company goals are, what the purpose is, what the mission is, because it becomes harder to really translate that to each and every employee. So you need systems to do it. And then it gets, you keep going in that direction, and it gets bigger and bigger, and you're moving into different countries where, there's, certainly at the time, it was the first time where, you're going to be employing people that you may never meet. We tried to make sure that we were always visiting at least once a year, but it's very different if you're in a different country in a different office. So that's another phase of development. And again, it just increases the emphasis on having smart systems, goals that people can understand and get behind, shared purpose. All of those things become much more important, and so on and so forth.
It sounds as if you're very committed from an early stage in the company.
Yeah.
Did you always see yourself as like developing through the ranks?
I don't know if I had that sort of real sense of purpose at the very begining. I didn't kind of know that it was going to become so big. I had a sense that this was a great business and I loved it, but it would have been too difficult to predict at that point. But then as it started to, I think particularly as we started to attract the attention of bigger and bigger brands, because at the time not every brand had an affiliate program.
Do you remember the brand that was the one when you went, oh
yeah. I think there was a moment where we were winning 2 or 3 major brands a week. That's what it was like. That was just fantastic fun.
Yeah.
But there was one particular moment, and one very large brand that still works with us today. It was actually Curry's. It was Dixon's Stores Group at the time.
Yeah.
So Curry's, PC World, there was a whole load of brands within that group, and winning that, which we actually, spent a huge amount of time pitching for. It was probably one of the biggest pitches we'd ever done. And we found out we'd won it just before the first ever black tie party that we did. So those who know the company, certainly for up until this year anyway, we've run a black tie party every year. At the time, it was the first time there was anything like that. Something super smart for the industry where everybody could get dressed up. And also at the time, we were able to bring the entire company to the first one, because we could fit them all on a coach and go to the venue. And just before we were about to go to that first ever black tie, we got a call from the main guy at Dixon's Stores Group, Curry's, and he said, "You've won the business, all 5 brands."
What a feeling!
And that was amazing.
Yeah.
And we were sort of worried about the time about how you would, how can you have competing brands on the same platform? Because we had a Comet. Which no longer exists, or I think it was resurrected recently by somebody. But Comet was the big rival, and we had that one. But Curry's was the sort of the bigger one.
Yeah.
And how do you operate those two competing businesses on the same platform? Those are the types of challenges that we were thinking about at the time.
Which sounds hilarious now, because obviously affiliate networks are like, de facto kind of like place where all brands will, use for their affiliate program.
Yeah.
And of course it's like saying Google's going to be exclusive with, a certain retailer, or, this is a platform that everyone uses. I know Google's got a monopoly, but it's that seems crazy. And obviously now you have massive, you have massive verticals where you're working with pretty much anyone who's anyone in that vertical.
Yeah.
Like Telcom's big for you, isn't it?
Yeah, Telco is huge for us. I mean, I suppose it's also worth, stating that, Awin is a phenomenal 25-year story of both organic growth. So, going out and pitching brands like that and attracting them to the channel in the first place, but also inorganic, so acquisitions. And at the time, this period that we're talking about, there were 2 platforms that were really changing the way affiliate marketing was done. There was us, and then there was a company called Buyout, and we became the strong ones in retail, and Buyout became the strong ones in telco. And actually both businesses sold at a similar time, us to Axel Springer, who still own us today, and Bayat to AOL, who were big at the time, and we were both sort of competing for that attention and to be bought first. Huge rivalry, absolutely hated each other, wouldn't even be in the same room as each other. So it's quite funny. But then it didn't work out for Bayat at AOL, and very soon after they went on the market, and we were able to acquire them. And in doing that, we brought together that retail strength with that telco strength. And that gave us, and also they were live in the US. So not only did it sort of consolidate the UK position and give us that huge strength in both those verticals, it also was our first foray into the US market. So it was a very important moment for us. And then all those people that we would never even talk to at an event, we were then, bringing into the family.
Was it weird for a while?
It was super weird. I mean, one of the funniest moments was their headquarters was in Newcastle, and going up to Newcastle before anybody knew that this deal was going to be done, and then walking into this room, standing there in front of all these people who we sort of had this fierce competition with, and saying, "Right, guys, you're now part of our company." That was a big moment. But I think one of the things that we realized very quickly was that we both shared a lot of the same values. We were both trying to do the right thing by the industry, grow the industry, clean the industry up, because at the beginning, it was like the Wild West. There was a lot of activity that needed to be rooted out, and both of those companies were sort of at the tip of the spear in fixing that up. So a lot of shared values, and it just made a ton of sense very quickly. And some of those people are still with the company today. So Roz, who's one of our regional MDs.
Oh, Roz was from that company.
Was from Bayat. Dawn, UK Client Service Director, came from that. Nick Clare. There's lots of people that are still active today that came from that acquisition.
Well, that's a successful deal then.
Super successful deal. Super successful deal. They're always complicated, because I think there's just so many elements to you making a network acquisition, whether it's that people part and harmonizing the cultures, but also the technology and making sure that tracking doesn't break and all of those things. It's a huge undertaking.
And you've gone on to make a few more acquisitions since then.
Absolutely.
And I guess the play there was more to sort of have operations or expertise in other territories. Is that the case?
Yeah, that too. I mean, you can do that again organically, and we did. So like there are markets like Brazil, where we just put people on the ground. We, made the software, translated the software into Portuguese and made it suitable for the market, and just grew ourselves. And then there are other markets where we already had a presence and we wanted to expand it. So like Benelux would be one, where we launched there organically, or Xanox did, which was another network in the family. And then we acquired another competitor like we did in the UK,
just for quick scale.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you can grow and it takes time to grow organically, and obviously if there is the right interesting target or partner on the market, then sometimes it can make that much faster. We did the same in Germany. Germany was the home market of Xanox, and then where our shareholders are based. But there was another big rival network there called Affiliate. And that was another one we acquired back in 2017, I think. So lots of those.
I didn't realize that, actually. Yeah. When I first came into marketing, it was back in like 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
We were using Affiliate and Affiliate Window for some reason, until we just started using Affiliate Window after that point.
Yeah.
But that was interesting to hear.
Yeah, so there's been lots of those deals, super exciting, and always bringing new perspectives, different ways of approaching the market, and I think most importantly, really great people. Many of which are still in the business today.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. When we talk about going from 15 to 1,400 people, obviously a lot of that is from acquisitions, but a lot of it is also organic, and just being such a rapid growth company for so long. And then you speak about the 50 employee tipping point, which has really kind of got me thinking as well for our own situation. But going to the next level, how do you pick people? Is something that we're experiencing a lot. How do you identify the right people in new departments, new leadership roles?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that changes with time, because at the beginning, certainly at a certain level of seniority, I was probably directly involved. I was actually sitting on the interviews and picking the people. That becomes impossible at a certain point. That's what that transition point where you start building departments, and you start setting, common goals and purpose and direction, you also are thinking about, values. What type of people do you want to bring in, and making sure that your hiring managers understand that and try and follow the same pattern. For us, I mean, we worked with a recruiter at the time that probably hired loads of people into the company that really understood that. We'd spent a lot of time with that company, really explaining the types of people that we wanted, and they were brilliant at finding them. And there would be graduates, and we would train them up ourselves and really teach them the way we wanted to do things. Because, I mean, frankly, at the time, finding people that had experience in affiliate marketing, just no chance. They just didn't exist. So we had to make our own people.
And then over time, you'd have had the opportunity to put people who had been in the industry and in the company for a while into bigger roles, more responsibility, and we probably had some. We must have definitely had some wins, some losses in that area. How do you know when someone's ready for way more responsibility?
Sometimes you don't, and sometimes you don't have the luxury, right? You're going to have to take a chance on people, and if someone took a chance on me, as I said, I came in. The founder of Affiliate Window took a chance on me. I came in with no experience, except for some very bad dentistry. There's no way anybody should be getting me to do anything inside their mouths, right? So people, somebody saw something in me, gave me a chance, and that's the way I've wanted to do things in the company as well. I think certainly at the beginning, you get to a point where it just made sense at the scale that we were at to start looking at some outside talent. And bringing in people from other parts of digital to see if there are things that we could learn from that, but also for, not just for external client-facing roles and positions, but also internally. How do you build scalable central departments that are going to serve the needs of a larger company? And it's a mix of the people that you've sort of trained and brought up in the company that really understand the way you want to do things. And then it's about bringing in the right external talent to complement that, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and the ones that you bring through the company, you already trust them, you already know them. They're a kind of proven entity. We've got a quote that we always use with each other. I think it came from Stephen Bartlett, but you probably got it from someone else, which is if you look at somebody in your business, and if everyone was like them, would the average quality go up, or would it go down? You can look at any person and say, okay,
stagnate,
or would it be the same? And if you look at somebody and the average, quality of your business would go up if everyone was like that person, they probably need to be promoted or progress quickly. And if you look at somebody and the quality would go down, obviously that's a huge red flag. They need training, or they need to work on them. But what's the biggest red flag that you would say, sort of personality traits that some people can have when you're looking at a big role for them?
Well, I mean, I prefer to look at it maybe more from the positive aspect. I think what you want to identify in people is solid work ethic and a willingness to consistently learn and develop and grow their knowledge and their ability. And I think if people have those qualities, then they can do wonders almost in any position, and they will always perform for you. And I suppose if you were to turn that around, it's people that don't have that ability, that are sort of happy to coast,
right?
Don't really have much ambition, but I think absolutely key is just don't have a willingness to learn. Then it's never going to work.
Cool. And in your position as a CEO, I know a little bit about your history, and you started with technical integration and things, and then obviously you went through CEO role as well. So you really were on the tools. You knew about the product fully.
Yeah.
And do you think a good CEO has to sort of fully understand the product and be able to do as well?
It helps.
Yeah.
But it can also be a problem, right? I mean, so I obviously have to say that it's good because this is the path that I took, right? And I think it's been amazing for me to have, to understand the underlying technology, to have integrated clients onto the platform and know how that works, and then to have done account management and understand, the nature of an affiliate program and how it grows and how to, keep clients happy and make service good. I mean, all of those things are helpful. At the same time, business reaches a certain size or scale and challenges change, ownership changes, demands from shareholders change, and the industry develops and grows. And one of the things that I was particularly conscious of when I took over as CEO in 2021 was not continuing to just do the same things. And yes, we got to a certain point and we'd been successful, and me and my colleagues that ran the company for so long had done some great things. At the same time, you always need to look for ways to improve, look at, for outside inspiration, for ways to take the business to the next level, for ways, to fulfill the full potential of the business. And that requires different thinking and being open to change, and being open to, even things that were sacrosanct or things that you held dear. You have to be open to different approaches and different ways of looking at things. And that's also key, which is why obviously some shareholders will think, I need to bring outside in experience here. I can't, have somebody that's come from within. So I think, for me, the next phase, after becoming CEO was, how do I make sure that I'm constantly pushing the business and not doing the same things, and bringing in new, fresh blood onto the exec board, which we've done successfully. Those were key decisions and key moves that really helped to push the business in new directions.
Well, especially as well in affiliate marketing in particular.
Yeah.
Because it's not like paid, Google or social ads. Yes, there's been some big changes there, but not fundamentally, no, not really.
Yeah.
Still doing the same thing that you were doing 10, 15 years ago in social and paid and in other areas. But with affiliates, and we spoke about this before, didn't we? There's no channel that has changed and increased in scope. And maybe we should explain to anybody watching this who doesn't maybe know affiliates as well as us. How would you describe affiliate marketing as a channel, the publisher types that a brand can get sales from, perhaps previously, and then up until now, what's changing?
It's a great question, and it's very important for people to understand. It's not really a channel. It's a multitude of channels. Within one area. It's really a payment model. And that's, I think, a blessing and a bane, right? Because on the one hand, it means that you have this incredible diversity within the space, huge amounts of opportunity, the ability to test and learn new things in ways that other channels don't necessarily can't. But conversely, it makes it difficult to clearly explain exactly what it is. And being able to sort of simply and clearly explain what something is obviously a smart path to trying to get more attention and more budget, more investment. And so this is some of the challenge that we live with. Would I change it though? No. I think that's one of the things that makes it super exciting for me anyway. Both the range and diversity of brands that can work in the space makes it super exciting. All the different verticals that we work with. Anytime there's something new and exciting, usually they're going to want and need an affiliate program. So we get to learn about so many different types of businesses. That's on the advertiser side. Mm-hmm. And then on the publisher side, it's anybody that has an online engaged consumer audience. Literally anybody that is looking for ways to supplement their income. And that means it's applicable to pretty much any business. You just got to convince them that. And again, it's not necessarily in place of other revenue driving activities that businesses might engage in. It's a complement to it. And I think that means, literally anybody can be an affiliate or a publisher, and that keeps the thing just super dynamic and exciting.
Yeah, and I'll use Nike as an example, right? If you're Nike, your affiliate program on Awin might contain, it could be some small YouTuber that reviews shoes or trainers, and he's just putting a link in his description, right? He's using Awin to drive that sale to Nike and get some commission.
Yeah.
But it could also be, it could be someone who's buying paid traffic and taking a risk on behalf of Nike, that I'll take all the risk on this paid traffic, arbitraging the cost and hoping that my commission that they're going to pay me is going to be more than what I paid in ads.
Absolutely.
All the way to, multi-billion pound companies, huge conglomerate, legacy publisher media groups and everything in between, right? That wasn't always the case though, was it? It was a bit more sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it's become more rich and diverse with time, and I hope that continues. And I think it's super exciting. I think it will, and I think that's super exciting. But yeah, at the beginning, obviously not, fewer people knew about it, but that arbitrage thing was a big thing at the very beginning.
Yeah,
and a lot of that was paid search. So right now, most brands manage their paid search in-house. They may use an agency to help, but there's a kind of real understanding about paid search in almost every business. Back then, the very beginning, there wasn't, and there were a bunch of affiliate businesses that were experts in it. There was also different rules around paid sponsored links on Google. You could have more associated with single domains than just one, and so there was a huge amount of competition for space on the search engines, and there were affiliates that were simply phenomenal at it. And a lot of high volume affiliate activity at the time was people doing paid search arbitrage. So they were companies, sometimes individuals or sometimes, small companies that were expert at it, that were providing those services to brands and charging them on a CPA basis and paying Google on the CPC. And that was massive.
Yeah.
There was also, by the way, a whole bunch of people that were doing that illegitimately.
Yeah.
So bidding on people's brands when they weren't allowed to, and making money from that. And that was one of the things that we did early on, was try to clean up that space. And so we launched the first ever brand monitoring tool on the market, which we built ourselves at the time. Now there's, companies that specialize in that and do a much better job than we ever did. But at the time, this was pretty innovative, and we were sort of saying, you've got to control this. Here's some technology that helps you control it. But that was a big thing at the time. And then, coupons, vouchers came in, a lot of voucher code sites, cashback came in, and so on, the channel.
Was there, and later on when you introduced the MasterTag, was that 2018?
No,
it was
2010.
2010,
yeah.
wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, and was that like an introduction of working with different types of publisher as well, or more tech?
At the time, It was really smart technology that our teams built and released that we didn't truly understand the full potential of at the time. Originally, it was about tracking is at the absolute, tracking quality and effectiveness is at the core of what we do. And we were finding that we needed to upgrade that, or we wanted to continually upgrade the tracking technology on our advertisers' websites. So the thinking was, if we can install something there, it gives us the ability to do, to perform those upgrades without needing to bother the advertiser. Yeah. Because, getting dev time for something like that was always difficult, is still difficult today. And so any way that we could take away the need to, bother the devs and an advertiser, that was the original thinking behind it. And that was quite effective. But then we realized actually that this could be a brand new partner type, which, then sort of came into its own many years later.
Awesome. Yeah, it's quite progressive. And also the platforms like GTM obviously didn't exist maybe in 2010 when you launched, but they did a few years later, and that obviously helped marketers even more so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you think, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but you are at the cutting edge, which we've had all these new partner types coming in, sort of influencers, obviously exploded, creators, and then there's, really rolled into affiliates in a large way. Content obviously is being used in a much bigger, I know it's always been there, but it's just become a really prominent business model for most content sites, right?
Yeah.
There's retail media, there's all these emerging, what do you see on the horizon that maybe might not be considered affiliate right now, but could end up going into affiliate in the future?
I mean, clearly we are, we're living through yet another technological revolution when it comes to AI, and I'm pretty confident that, we're already seeing new businesses emerge that are built using AI, or they're just AI from the ground up, and I think that's going to be the next wave of new partner types. Like, I believe that the model that underpins our industry is still the best. Yes, this has its pros and cons and flaws and whatever else, but I think fundamentally it's a phenomenal business model, and it's the ideal business model for AI because the recommendations that AI makes are going to be based on, that model's understanding of each individual. It's going to be based on the prompts that people enter. And it shouldn't be based on who's bidding the highest. And that's why I think, we're the perfect monetization solution for this new wave of AI shopping, a whole load of new businesses that are going to come into the space. And I think one of the things that we're very focused on is how we absolutely cement our position there. And so, I think we should and we always have been largely agnostic around, what is the end, what the end consumer experience is going to be. We should just be looking at where the potential exists, what businesses might be created, what services may be created for users, and making sure that we provide the technology to allow those businesses to monetize in the most simple way possible. So that's what we're very much focused on, having a look at that space at the moment and really, and the qualities that we have, and making it much easier for those businesses to find paths to monetization. I think if we can do that, then we're going to see, just tons of new opportunity coming into the space. That's where I think
that's interesting, and it helps being a global player right now, for sure.
It does.
You can definitely, hopefully, make life easy for the AI players that need all the brands in one place and are proven. So, but that's really interesting because you're basically, you're talking about it challenging the CPC model, right? Mm-hmm. Because we all know that, like, I use ChatGPT as an example. It's obviously, doing some damage to traditional Google search a lot, and CPC is the wrong model for that when they start to heavily monetize it, isn't it? And obviously you'll know that, but the way you explain it there is really interesting. It does need to be, I don't have a problem with it monetizing, right? As long as it's not completely corrupt in what it's giving me. So as long as they can, like you say, make it highly personalized and keep the user at heart, then affiliates is the fair and correct model, because it's a passive income for the recommendations that it's making anyway, just like a YouTuber that's really, or an influencer that genuinely is going to review that product and give its honest review anyway. Yeah. And then they're going to put a link in so that if you buy it, they'll earn. Yeah. That's almost equating to what you just explained with AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love about CPA, and I think this holds true, and I think we should talk about it more. Show me the incentive, I'll show you the behavior. So if you look at different ad models, often the incentive is just for showing you the ad, or in some cases clicking on the ad, which is slightly better because it's, an interaction has been driven. And businesses optimize around that to make as much money as they possibly can. But in our model, success only comes from when sales happen. And everybody that engages with it only makes money when sales happen. And that encourages businesses to be created that are designed to drive sales, which is what we're all here to do, right? Which is what advertisers really want. And so as an incentive model to drive better quality experiences for consumers, I don't think you can find one. And this, exactly plays into the argument around AI. So if companies that are going to emerge with AI at its core want to ensure that they're driven to provide the best quality experience, the best answers for people, the best product recommendations for people, then the best way to drive that behavior is by only rewarding them when they drive sales. And that will optimize everybody towards making those experiences geared towards that.
You're absolutely right, because it's depending on what type of program you've built and how much you've invested in the channel, the affiliate channel, or what the affiliate program has to offer, is some of the most brand building stuff out there, and such just a byproduct of having an affiliate program. And we say this to our clients all the time. It's like, we might get a program that's not, it's come over to us, we're managing it, and we've inherited it from, it's not been managed properly, maybe in-house, and we'll look at them and say, look guys, like, it's got some good foundation, but you could be getting so much brand value and educational content out there just as a byproduct of people trying to drive sales. They need to educate to actually make sure they get the sale, and they drive the sale. They need to educate the audience, and so you're going to get all that brand building, all that product education for free, essentially, and then the sales is the payment model, and that is just, it's just perfect.
Yeah. Now, I think what's also, it's another one of these things that's like a blessing and a bane for the industry, because at the same time, there's huge amounts of value that isn't getting recognized. And we have to be very careful because, particularly, there's great growth in influencer marketing at the moment through affiliates. And it's logical, right? It seems to be the perfect two channels to come together. And we see huge demand from advertisers in that space. At the same time, an influencer, by its very nature, is operating further up the funnel.
They're just influencing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so does our model really support those types of businesses at the moment? And I think there's questions, there to be answered. But there's different adaptations to it that could be introduced that still sort of maintain that core. But could provide reward to those more upper funnel partners.
Well, let's talk about that, because you're totally right. So the same as the example I just gave. Okay, unless I'm driving a lot of sales, if I'm doing a really good job of educating a new audience on a product, and they're now change, making them aware, driving awareness, introducing them to a new product and a brand, but the sales aren't quite there, but the brand themselves value that activity.
Yeah.
I know you can do manual. We do a lot of deals with brands directly, manually. How much is currently? What percentage of you can say is like commissions on a sales, and how much of it manual rewards through Awin?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the exact stats. I know that the mix has changed, and the let's say fixed rewards or tenancies has grown as a model over time, and whether that's the right model going forward, I'm not sure. But it indicates very clearly that there's partners that aren't getting fair reward from pure CPA, and there needs to be an evolution of that. I think the first step is to clearly measure and identify that value in a way that brands appreciate and recognize, and then think about different ways that reward can be delivered. And it can still be linked to the end result of a sale, because you can tell obviously when somebody's contributed to a sale and when they haven't, when they've been part of a journey. And I think there's things that we should be doing to innovate around that. It's something that's very sort of front of mind at the moment for us.
As a network, do you consider it your role to be giving brands options on how to pay different types of affiliates and influencers?
Yeah, I think absolutely. First of all, you've got to be able to demonstrate the value clearly. You've got to be able to measure, and I think some barriers that exist there are around data sharing. So we can do a fantastic job at telling you, if a partner has been involved in an affiliate journey. But that's like a tiny portion of the picture, right? The vast majority of affiliate sales are single interactions still. But that's changing over time. It used to be like 90% plus. I think it's a bit less now, especially you've got more upper funnel partners and influencers going into the space. But the real intelligence comes from looking how those partners are contributing across a much broader mix of channels and activity. And that's where agencies can come in as well, because sometimes brands don't necessarily want to share all that data with a single provider. And I think, we need to break down those barriers and get to a point where there's a clear and consistent understanding of how value is being driven. Across different partner types and across the channel, and probably some standards around how the reward model should work for that.
I can give you recent examples. This is, for some brands, especially the more, I guess, sophisticated or mature brands, that this is a well-trodden path. I think it's just not that we're just not using it fully in affiliates. But I can't say who they are because I think NDA. But we're launching right now with a sort of quite decent size FMCG product company that's in the US and UK, and we were doing a forecast for their senior leadership team, and they had a lot of data to share. They were sold in retail in every major supermarket, and they know from their own data that for every D2C sale, I'm making it up now, I think it's 1 in 20. So for every 20 D2C sales, they create a new retail customer, something like that.
Yeah.
So we were able to weight up the forecast based on data they already know about the wider impact of those D2C sales, and that's just after the affiliate sale.
Yeah.
Obviously, what you're talking about is what comes before.
Yeah.
And they have those numbers too from all the other channels. So the data is there.
Yeah.
To create quite a wide model that many brands don't do when it comes to affiliates. Just oversimplified.
Yeah, and there's work that we all need to do as an industry to piece that together. But the retail media example is super interesting as well, because this sort of the retail media has been around for years, or FMCG brands pumping money into making sure that their products are well positioned inside stores, and that's been a model that's been around for generations, and now giving them the opportunity to do that and give them clear results. This is how you deployed that spend. We used it, for example, to increase commissions on a certain set of partners, and this was the result of that. That's gold, and that's going to unlock many more budgets. It's another super exciting area of development for the industry, I think.
Yeah, and there's no reason why they wouldn't want to value, like I say, most brands they're going to want to value that activity accurately.
Yeah.
They just need to trust it and be able to stand behind the numbers.
Yeah.
And then they can invest way more because they know what the outcome is going to be.
Absolutely. But I think cracking that bit of the upper funnel part and how it brings value is going to be critical to the next phase of development for our industry, and something that we want to spend a lot of time working on, but something that I think can be really exciting and can grow the space even more.
And should we talk about the big subject of AI?
Yeah.
A lot of people making a lot of claims.
Mm-hmm.
How much is outside of Awin? I'm talking just on a macro level. How much do you think is hype, and how much is immediate gains to come soon?
There's definitely a lot of hype, and I think if you stick the word AI on an investor presentation at the moment, you're just more likely to get listened to. So people are doing that. But clearly, this is not just hype. There's real substance to it, and it's going to change things in multiple different ways. There's the internally focused stuff. So how does it make you more efficient as an organization? How does it improve productivity? And I think there's been some companies have taken some early steps there and not necessarily been getting the returns. I mean, this is the big discussion at the moment, and people are having to invest a lot in AI tooling, even the AI companies themselves, and the revenue isn't quite following yet. But it will. It just needs to sort itself out. So that's one part. How does it improve productivity? How does it, does it affect jobs? To what degree? So those are big questions, and that's a big focus for everybody. Then there's how do we use it as a SaaS company effectively? We produce a platform, and we want to use the latest technology to make that platform as super simple to use as it possibly can be. And so that's something that we're heavily focused on. We launched a beta version of our new platform this summer in July. The full version's coming in January, and that's been a ground up rebuild with AI at the heart of it. So we launched our own assistant called Ava in there, and the vision is you should be able to interact with our ecosystem through natural language. So we start off with obviously support queries, and then you move on to saying we want to be the launch in January. A lot of it's going to be around build me I'm launching a campaign for Black Friday. I want to sell these products. Tell me how best to go about that, what commissions I should pay, and using the 25 years of data that we have to understand how the best campaigns work. This should give you a full plan.
So strategy.
Yeah. The partners you should work with, the rates that you should pay, forecasting, etc. That's the vision. And that's incredibly exciting. And so we're going to see software developing in that way. It's going to make it much easier to use and more powerful. And then there's the bit that we were just talking about, what new businesses are going to emerge that are designed to help people shop more intelligently and in a more personalized way. And how do we make sure that we are the go-to monetization option for businesses in that space? So those are like the three pillars of it. And yes, a lot of hype, and we don't yet know which things are going to be the most impactful. But we're very focused on those three areas and how we can develop in them, because we think there's huge potential.
So you're thinking almost like I'm getting really specific, but let's say there's a new Temu that's entirely AI driven and can just find you anything anywhere all the time. That's the name of a movie. Awin would have something like an affiliate SDK ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to see new publishers, affiliates, however you want to describe them, tech partners that are using the latest technology to help people shop. We're already seeing them. We're already seeing them join the network. And so if we really ask ourselves honestly today, how easy is it for businesses like that to get what they really need in a super quick time? And is the technology up to scratch, or is it still sort of decades old. And I think there's work that we need to do as an industry to make sure that we cement our position in that new ecosystem. And that's one of the things that we're going to be heavily focused on.
Excellent. Yeah.
Seems like so far so good though.
I mean, I think it's tremendously exciting. You know, we've lived through other technology revolutions, whether it was with the internet itself or mobile or whatever, social media, and all of them have brought lots of new opportunity, also uncertainty and anxiety and all of those things. But I think that's what keeps things interesting. This is no different. It could be even more disruptive. It certainly has the potential to be more disruptive, and so we just got to be open and be see what the opportunity brings and make sure we're there and we're ready to capitalize on it.
And you released Ava the beta in Portugal.
Correct.
Yeah. I heard some allegations about that.
Yeah,
about the 4 a.m. beach party karaoke. Do you confirm, deny the allegations?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Was not present.
That kind of leads me to my next question about going back to leadership. Like, how important is it for you to get the cultural values across to the company, or a company of that size, not just staying out on the beach till 4 a.m., which you're not yet to confirm. But yeah, because we've got a company of close to 50 people, and that's a constant question for us as founders. But how about for you in that role to make sure that it's spread across such different regions as well?
Well, it's harder. So what I would say to you guys is enjoy it now, because that ability to know everybody, and for them to know the founders and understand what what makes you tick, is those were some of the best times, because it's that just sense of camaraderie is phenomenal, and it gives everybody a great feeling. And so enjoy that. It becomes harder as things get bigger, and you try to codify. Because it sort of happens naturally when you're smaller, but you have to codify it when you get bigger so that people understand it. And I think what's also changed a great deal, and this sometimes this certainly keeps me up at night, is we've gone more remote post COVID. We always had some levels of remote. We're more remote now post COVID, and I think trying to maintain culture when sometimes you may never meet people, or people are very spread out, is much harder. As time goes by, even more difficult, right? Because at the beginning of COVID, you're sitting on this great infrastructure that you've built. Everybody does know each other in their pockets, in their departments, and then over time, obviously, the employee base changes, and it becomes more and more difficult to maintain that culture and that sense of shared purpose. I mean, there are ways to do it, and you can never communicate enough. But I think there's definitely something missing. You have to pay more attention to it than you would if people were more together.
Yeah, you can't. There's no replacement for physical FaceTime.
Not at all.
We do through. So I work in an office. He works in a different office. So he works in our Bulgarian office. I work in our Essex office, and so we've both got a team around us. But we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Everyone in the company comes into the offices. Yeah, and it's traditional in that sense. Everyone's got a desk, and the culture's amazing. We're playing games. Everyone's having fun, all that stuff. But then Mondays and Fridays, people work from home. Yeah, and some people still come in because that's their preference. But those that work from home know to be productive, and obviously to look after their own time and everything. But I think that hybrid is what works for us.
Yeah. No, and I think that makes a ton of sense, and it's something that we're looking at very seriously at the moment, because commuting is horrible. There's nobody that's going to ever convince anybody that commuting is a fun thing to do. But when I look back on my career and the times when, believe it or not, we would come in, at least 9 to 5:30 every day, I don't think about the tube journey. I think about that, that great sense of being together, meeting people that become great friends, but also meeting people that you're working together on something big, and you that sense of shared success and shared failure is so important for developing bonds and learning. And I think we need to really think about how we recapture some of that in the right way. I mean, the employee base has changed, and you know, that needs to be considered. And by the way, I think this is absolutely super important when it comes to sort of maintaining culture. What we've always tried to do, and what I deeply believe in, is that the relationship between the company and the employees needs to be based on trust. And so when we give people flexibility, it comes from that place. Like and I think a lot of companies don't do that. I think a lot of companies actually fundamentally base their relationship with employees on mistrust. Mm-hmm. They're actually optimizing for the bad actors, saying, well, you know, somebody's going to take the piss and not work if I give them remote privileges. Therefore, everybody's got to come in, and I've got to see them at their desks. And that's no guarantee of anything, just because you see somebody there that you know that they're working. That cannot be what it's about. But what we need to convey to people is that there is huge value in spending time together, and that is just super important for building bonds and learning. And I think, you know, we need more of that.
I agree. It can't be about trust. That's so archaic, and you sit at your desk being useless for 8 hours.
Yeah.
But I agree with you completely. Culture and learning. If you've got people at different levels, which we have all different levels, you just like turn your chair around and look at someone's screen. Yeah. Way more efficient than another Zoom call or another
hearing a conversation or whatever.
It's also like healthy competition.
Yeah.
I think as well. When you're physically with people in the office, you want to do, you know, one up on the next person.
Absolutely.
And how else are you going to get really good at pool?
Yeah, I mean, in our, you know, there was people, you know, FIFA and those things were very important back in the day.
Still are.
We've got this. We're updating some of our values to sort of because it's been a while since we've done some of our internal catchphrases, I would call them. But one of them early on, which the team still quotes quite a lot, was on all our decks, was fueled by obsession. Yeah, and that's something that we believe. I think Jamie and I share this view that a lot of great things happen as a result of people's obsessions or you know, just complete immersion. I definitely believe that, and if you look at some of the greats, whether it's culturally or in business, they're completely obsessed, immersed in what they do. Where do you sit on that scale? We know you obviously weren't that obsessed with dentistry.
Yeah.
What catches your passion, like personally and business wise?
I mean, I would have to. I mean, I am obsessed by this industry, and I'm obsessed by the internet, and that's been since I was a kid. You know, got it very early, was just fascinated by it. And that remains a fascination today. And work is such a fundamental part of my life. I think, you know, it would be perfectly reasonable for someone to say, you know, this is an obsession of yours. I think alongside that, just like learning and I mean, it's kind of ridiculous to sort of, I mean, everybody's obsessed by social media at the moment, but particularly for me, X, where, you know, it's not mindless scrolling for me. It's learning, you know, and the quality of it is about the people that you follow.
Yes.
If you follow a load of garbage, then that's what you're going to get. Or if you actually use the For You tab, then, you know, you're getting what Elon wants you to see. But if you follow good people, then for me, it's about learning. And this is the thing that drives me. Like I'm constantly looking for new takes on things, new technologies, new ways of seeing the world and of seeing our industry develop. And that is an obsession of mine that I think will.
That's a good one. That's a good one. And like, there's a lot of discourse and conversation, obviously, about, you know, how toxic the internet is and how the generation are all screwed. The new generations are all screwed, and obviously a lot of that is true. There is some problems with mental health as well around the internet and unfettered access. Yeah. But as on the flip side, it is an incredible time we're living through. I mean, my YouTube algorithm is just so enriching.
Exactly. And I think, I heard something the other day. I can't remember who said it, but it was about kids, you know, and being worried about them spending too much, you know, having too much screen time. It's too much of a sweeping blanket statement, actually. It's more about the quality of screen time. So we were talking before about my 5-year-old who watches these people playing Minecraft. I'm not sure how educational that is, and how much we should allow that.
Yeah.
But he also spends a lot of time learning things, and he has an innate desire to do that, and he comes out with the most fascinating things. And so, he's watching YouTube Kids, and some parents say, I'm never giving my kid an iPad, and I'm not allowing them any screen time, and they have to do they have to, just when they're at home only play. And personally, I think, that would ignore a huge amount of value that you can also get from that. Yeah. And you really need to be encouraging inquisitive mind in your kids, and if they're on their screens but they're looking at educational content, nothing wrong with that.
Have you come across a show called Cha-Ching? It's a YouTube kids show, and it actually teaches them about, it's like financial literature, and it tells them the value of money. It's actually really good. So check it out, write it down. I think it's
and these are things that people that they're not taught in school. So if there's things like that they can do where they're going to get an education in those areas, then those are good things.
Do you give your kids pocket money?
My older one, I do. In a very digital way via a Revolut child. So I'm not sure she's really actively monitoring what's going on in there, but I'm trying to get her used to the idea of, you have a certain amount of income, and if you want to buy something, then you've got to save up. And
that's exactly what I'm
you should say, just invest it in Disney or something you know about, and then
stop watching Disney Plus and put it into shares.
I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, so I'm not quite there yet, but I was talking to my wife recently about this. Like, wouldn't it be good? I've had to learn the value of money as I've grown up, and I don't think I really had it as a kid necessarily. I was, not been sort of particularly prudent with money at times. But I'd love them to be just a little bit sharper than me and teach them things. So I was thinking about like giving them pocket money, but then like it's only going to be, they're only so young. What can it be, like £5 a week or something? I don't know. Like, they're so young, but take them to the shops and they go, okay, well, they want this thing, and then they start to learn, okay, that was all of your money gone, that thing. Exactly. Or you can save it, and then like the next week you've got double, teaching them delayed gratification.
What I'm finding now is she'll say to me, I want to buy this thing, or it's like Barbie dream house thing, and I mean it's crap. It's plastic crap. I know I really don't want her to buy it, but every time she comes with something, I'm like, you don't want to buy that. You want to buy something else, and then it's kind of defeating the purpose. Now she should buy it. Spend all her money on it and realize it's plastic garbage.
Can she afford it, right? If it's expensive, we maybe need to bring it down. And then she's like, oh, you're saving for weeks. And then it's like, you want to blow it all on Barbie Dreamhouse? You've just been saving for 6 weeks for that.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking as well. But thankfully, these are things to worry about in the future. Same as the screens. We don't do, they don't have phones. My kids are only 5 and 3. They don't have phones. And it's not because we have this sort of like moral high ground of like, we're the best parents ever and our kids don't have phones. We just managed to get to now without them needing it in restaurants or in cars or whatever.
That's amazing.
They're similar in age, and they play, like they'll just make up this characters with their hands and stuff.
Perfect.
But when they do, they borrow our phones at times, if we want to lay in, we'll just go watch Disney or whatever. But you're right, the quality of what they're watching is everything, isn't it? And it's actually, if I wasn't on the internet or given or had a screen from my teenage years all the way through, obviously everything that I am today, a lot of that's come from self-education.
And that's exactly the same for me. Like I lived in a household where, there weren't restrictions, and we do the same thing now. And I believe it's a healthy way to bring up your kids. It's like, if they have access to, for example, the sweets and chocolates, and it's not considered a special treat, then what we find now is that they'll actively they won't binge on it. Like they can get whatever they want, but they'll stop. And let's see whether we can do the same with the screens. It's harder because they're designed to be addictive. But for me, but at the moment, it's not them doing things that are interactive at the moment, which is where I think you need to be careful. It's more they're watching content, and there you can maybe influence the type of content that they watch, and I think that's a good thing. But the other thing with interesting about that you mentioned about upbringing and learning the value of money. I mean, my my dad ran a business, right? He was a photographer, and he had an office in the center of Dublin where I grew up, and I used to spend a lot of my weekends going there and seeing how that whole thing worked. And I think that was hugely instructive for me in my life, understanding, how to treat customers, because people would come in and how, my dad would change, when customers came in, and how to make sure they're looked after, and how the whole office worked. And, those things were fascinating to me. I think it taught me a hell of a lot. Obviously in our business, I mean, I could bring the kids in, but they don't really see. No, there isn't that digital same thing.
No, yeah. Although my son loves coming in and riding around the office on his bike. So it's not the same. It's not so interested in the work.
Take them to like a conference or something.
Take them to a conference, yeah. Then we'll see what they like. But I mean, and then I have the home office and they come in there. But I mean, they're just like seeing people on a screen.
Yeah. Maybe here in your meetings, if they can kind of like they can keep out, unlike the guy during the pandemic whose kids ran in and his wife like dragged him out.
Yeah.
But if you maybe him hearing you on a meeting is
Yeah, but that sort of, and again, because internal conversations are different to external conversations. Now, would I have my kids sit in or listen to an external conversation? I probably wouldn't take the risk. Whereas I remember as a young age just sitting there and listening to, customers come. Different business, obviously, completely different thing, but still that interaction with a customer.
It's so valuable.
Yeah.
And you were young. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where the impressions are being made. And I'm
Absolutely.
very aware of that. I say to my wife all the time, like these are the years where they're really, a lot of their personality is being made.
Yeah. So I think some sort of work experience, it will be critical for them to experience that, because they can't get it from seeing me.
Yeah.
So you've been in London over half your life.
Yeah. I moved. I left Dublin when I was 18. Went to university in Manchester, which was fantastic fun, probably too fun, which is why I didn't finish the degree. And then moved to London in 2004.
Yeah. Do you ever have any thoughts about heading back?
I always wanted to live in London. I was as a kid. I used to come over quite a bit. And Dublin is a beautiful city and a great place, but it's quite small. It's like 1.5 million people. I think it's changed a lot since I was there, and a lot of the big tech companies came in for the tax breaks, and I think that's changed the dynamics of the city quite a lot. But I was just fascinated by London and love London, and so I imagine I'm going to be here for a while.
I was born an hour's drive from London. I feel so fortunate because I've been to quite a few cities, and obviously there are some great cities, but London is absolutely up there.
Yeah,
when we had just happened to be here.
It's a fantastic city. I was out on Friday night. We went to see Ricky Gervais in the Palladium, and absolutely hilarious. Roll around laughing. And I was with my family, and we were walking through London on Friday night, absolutely packed and buzzing, and we were thinking, this is a great place to live.
Where else, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's a few cities around the world that have that same sort of vibrancy, and we live in one, and we probably don't use it enough and appreciate it enough.
Yeah, for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think London is absolutely where I want to be.
Yeah,
personally, and we're very lucky to be here. Let's get on to the Quickfire round.
Yeah, we have a few questions to finish up on, and then we can dig into these jars above us. You want to kick it off?
Well, we'll go with one each, but I'm gonna go with I'm gonna segue from the phone stuff. If you had to delete you, Adam, the grown up, if you had to delete every app on your phone except 3, which ones would you keep?
Would have to be WhatsApp, right? So you can actually still communicate with people. X, as I mentioned, isn't like my go-to for news and information in multiple different areas. Is the phone app considered? Is that considered?
I was just thinking this. Yeah, we'll give you the phone.
Yeah,
and we'll give you like your work email, right? Because that's a given.
I mean, the notes for me is. I mean, it's like obviously the built-in app, but I use it for everything.
iPhone, yeah. Same. So I've been saying this to people. I've had the same iCloud.
Yeah. For
about 15 years.
Yeah.
I've always been on iPhone. So, and I've been in sales and working in different companies, and I've pitched, and met with and worked with thousands of companies in that time, 15, 16 years. I can search for a brand's name or an agency's name or a person's name, and it might met them in 2012.
Yeah.
You've had this as well, do you?
Yeah. No,
it's like a superpower. It's like we've got an AI,
absolutely.
LLM.
I mean, I used to use like notepads, and I had piles of them. And then I moved over to, when the Apple Pencil came out.
Right.
So I can handwrite, because I still like to handwrite. And that's really, really good. It's really effective. And you can search your handwriting as well. So that for me is, I use it all the time.
Okay, you're at another level to me. I'm always
try that. It's amazing.
Cool. So one from me. When was the last time you felt completely out of depth?
Out of depth. It's a good question. I think so it's funny because it's happening this week again. I'm very privileged to be invited to the Sunday Times business party, which takes place in Claridge's every year around Christmas time. It's this week actually, on Wednesday night, and I always feel I'm better now, but at the beginning certainly very out of depth in that environment, because it's the leaders, business leaders and politicians from the UK, like really high level.
So you had like imposter syndrome.
And I go on my own, which I think is a great thing to do, by the way, things like that, because if you're with somebody, you tend to just sort of talk to them, whereas you're forced to put yourself out there, and you meet the most incredible people. And I always feel like with affiliate marketing, like it's not known, and we account for, we're a decent portion of the UK economy actually, but nobody has a clue about it, and so you always have that barrier of trying to explain it, and at the same time try and be engaging towards these people and see if there's opportunity in the conversation. That always makes me feel a little bit out of my depth, but it's also a great experience.
Yeah, I bet. Tomorrow night then?
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, yeah.
Good.
Can you say who's some of the people that you saw last time there, or can you not say, like, do you remember?
So like there was the founder of Carphone Warehouse was there. Kemi Badenoch was there. She gave a speech. I can't remember. I mean, lots of big, the CEOs and chair people of some of the biggest companies in the UK, and you just like.
It's quite a daunting room.
Yeah. A lot of people that you've seen on TV, like the sort of person that goes on a Question Time panel, and
right?
All those, economists and political commentators and journalists, and it's just a room full of those people,
and many of them having the same thoughts as you when you walk in there, probably.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I have the sense, and maybe it's just again the imposter syndrome or whatever. But I always have the sense that these people know each other.
Yeah,
and some of them do. They're like, oh, nice to see. And then you're sort of like hanging around on the sidelines trying to muscle in on a conversation. So it always feels a bit awkward. But I think now that this will be the third or fourth, you sort of see some of the same people, so that helps.
You actually know some.
Yeah.
What would your 12-year-old self say about you today?
Something like, you get to play on the internet for a job. You're winning.
Okay,
something like that.
Yes,
I think it would have had the internet then, or certainly been thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, you get doing something you enjoy. This is how I feel the same. It's something similar. It's like every now and then I turn to him and say, like, this is great. We just have an idea, go and do it, and it's fun, it's exciting. Take a break, play some pool, play some ping pong.
I still find it just super exciting. And so that's great. And I think it's going to continue to be with what's changing and everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I completely echo all of that. And being able to do what you want, or brings you enjoyment, brings you fulfillment, is definitely something you want to sort of teach the young and let them know that is the goal.
Yeah. And also I think what's very important for people to understand is that there's a lot of hard times in building something big and meaningful. It can be tough. It can be lonely. It can be stressful. You're going to have lots of disappointments and failures to overcome, and all those are the sort of the prices that you pay for the moments of success. And so, if you also happen to enjoy it and find it fascinating, as I do, then that helps to get through. There will be tough times. There's no hiding it.
Yeah, well said. I can definitely relate to that. I got one for you.
Yeah.
So, finish this sentence. Leadership is,
I think, to a large degree, wanting to, caring for people, and wanting people to be successful. and building environments where that can happen. And there's multiple different angles and parts to that, but I think that's what leadership is. And it goes from being, when you're a smaller company, to being a lot centered on you or your senior leadership team and what you think and believe and how you would drive things. And then as you become bigger and you're trying to transmit that to a larger group of people, much more about creating new leaders and giving creating an environment for people to thrive in.
Yeah, that checks out. It's not about being the main character then.
Yeah.
It's there's a great one that I heard recently. It's leadership is taking responsibility, taking the blame for everything, and taking responsibility, or taking the, sorry, I messed this one up. Taking the blame for everything and credit for nothing.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
And like you said in your answer, it's all about empowering other people, right? And empathetically.
Exactly.
So we're going to go back to marketing for a second. What is the single biggest opportunities? I mean, it doesn't even have to be about affiliates, but what is the single biggest opportunity that most brands are missing out on right now?
I think it comes back to that conversation we were having around better measurement of value, because there's a very real risk at the moment, and I think we've seen this in some companies and certainly some of our clients, where they might lean too heavily into pure performance, and they lose something from that. They stop filling the funnel, and eventually that runs out of steam. And I think we all need to be working towards creating a better balance of activity and finding the best reward models to create that balance that works for all parties. It's got to make sense to the CFO of an advertiser, for example. But I think a huge barrier at the moment is just there's not enough sharing of that data, because I think people consider it to be too competitive or whatever. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I think we need to sort of break down those barriers. I think we need to also break down some of the silos that exist inside advertisers' businesses, because a lot of marketing and advertising activity is converging. So it doesn't make sense to have them completely separated anymore. So to bring together that that measurement, those departments, that expertise, to grasp more of the opportunity that's available.
Yeah.
Good answer. Cool. Okay. Well, I think we're going to wrap things up. I noticed you haven't really made a dent, or any of us have.
I've actually.
You've done well. I've just sort of forgotten about it.
This was my breakfast.
That's okay. Well, you can take it home with you, Adam. So.
I will.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. It was a great chat.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Cheers. Great to talk.
Cheers.